Right now, I have a Pringles can in my hand. I see a man staring at me with two eyes, two eyebrows, and a mustache, and an oval face, white as the moon. Most people don't make those observations, and I wouldn't either, had I not stumbled into the works of a man by the name of James Ferraro. But before we go any further, let's skip back a couple years. 2010. The Obama administration has passed the Affordable Health Care Act, also known as Obamacare. The FIFA World Cup is held in South Africa. Toy Story 3 and the iPhone 4 are released. Every single human being in the world is looking towards the future while existing in the present. And yet one man pulls from the past. His name is James Ferraro, and he's released the album Night Dolls with Hairspray on the record label Old English Split. James Ferraro, at that point in time, in the world, is the only human being that has been able to exist in all three areas of time at once. But I'm not here to talk about any of that, because right now I want to talk about this man who was able to defy the impossible, decided to tone it back down, and give us a taste of reality unlike anything. Today I'm going to be talking about New York City, Hell, 3 a.m. If anything, NYC Hell 3 a.m. is a concept album, particularly about New York's urban decay and corrupt capitalism. And this is apparent from the first track, the intro track, where a text-to speech program repeats the phrase money over and over again a couple times.
Money, 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 money.
It's really engaging, you know?
Sonically, James Ferraro was pulling from alternative R&B and post-industrial music. Nothing new from him at this point, since he had already experimented with these styles on albums like Silica Gel and Cold, but on here it's much more minimal and uncanny. The mixing on here is on par with his Far Side Virtual era material, but the production is far more minimal and less upbeat than Far Side Virtual. The only constants between that album and this album are the tacky synths. However, on NYC Hell, they're far more stripped back and hollow sounding, as if to embody the cold, skeletal nature of New York City itself. Gone are the bells and whistles of Farside Virtual, and in its place are a desolate landscape of bare-bones instrumentation and text-to-speech programs conveying messages in glitchy desperation. The range of sounds on here is also quite impressive, considering how consistent this all is. Tracks like Fake Pain and Beautiful John K are these dark, atmospheric electronic soundscapes that embrace the alternative R&B elements of the album, with James auto-crooning in the foreground, whereas tracks like Quarter Jr. and Upper East Side Pussy feature lush acoustic samples played at various speeds and pitches that make for some of the most uncanny moments on the album, or blends of the two sounds like on City Smells. Other tracks sound like amalgamations of instruments that happen to resemble songs, such as the track Eternal Condition. Ferraro's lyrics are a lot more dismal in nature than previous albums, but haven't lost their numbingly simple diction with buzzwords galore. The song Cheekbones, for example, has the line, "I don't want to get cancer, but these cigarettes give me cancer. See, I love you." The track as a whole details a vicious cycle of consumption and decay as a result of consuming things that you know will kill you, but you buy it for temporary pleasure regardless. Going back to the production on here, there's also a noticeable amount of raw sampling present throughout the album, with samples ranging from MTV bumpers to news snippets, to a clip of the film American Psycho. Oh my god, James Ferraro's so base. He likes American Psycho. Shut up. Oh my god. Keep in mind, American Psycho wasn't the meme juggernaut it is now. So in this context, it's used more to just portray the dangers of Wall Street elites on society, which is what the movie was going for, so it makes sense. There's also mentions of the September 11th terrorist attacks on the track Stuck 2. The mentions are so vague and brief, it makes it seem like 9/11 is not as much of a cultural deterrent in the grand scheme of New York as urban decay and corruption in the economy is. Similarly to how the album started, it ends like this.
American violence, 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 American violence.
If you have a higher brain cell count than a Pringles can, you could probably figure out what that means. In short, NYC Hell 3 a.m. is a gritty, stark, and bleak reflection of the toxic aura and true nature of New York City. The sights, the smells, and especially its overwhelmingly capitalist structure is put on full display. on this album. God, I sound like a pitchfork writer. I wonder what score they gave this album anyways. Oh, hell no, what the fuck?